Isn't that what you're doing by these paragraphs?
Well, obviously I'm wrong. I mean, it should have been done from the outset. I mean, yeah, I agree.
What you express here in these paragraphs in 99 and 100, essentially the view that was operative throughout your time in the Post Office when you prosecuted, that the obligation was on the defence to raise horizon integrity and proof of loss, i.e. essentially reversing the burden of proof.
Please explain to me, it's late in the day, I'm not as young as I used to be. Say that again and slowly.
So 4 cases.
Yeah.
That audit data was not requested in criminal proceedings.
Is that what I say? Where did I say that?
Why did you think it was appropriate for the Post Office to launch criminal proceedings against branch staff without first confirming through audit data that there was proof of an actual loss?
So we're jumping back into Jarnail Singh's testimony to the Post Office IT inquiry, and he admits that he was wrong. He was responsible for something that was wrong in terms of requesting the ARQ data for cases against subpostmasters. And then it's put to him, why did he think it was appropriate to launch prosecutions against subpostmasters when the Post Office couldn't even prove that a loss had occurred, let alone that they'd done it? Let's find out what he has to say and jump into the inquiry.
The passage in your witness statement, please.
Where are we?
Page 34, paragraphs 99 and 100.
Sorry, say it again. 30...
It'll come up on the screen, Mr. Singh.
Okay.
Page 34, paragraphs 99 and 100.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. And
99, yeah.
And 100. You're here dealing with Mr. Blakey's case. And it's just something you say. You say, from my recollection and from reviewing the documents, the working of the Horizon system were never raised as an issue, and ARQ data was never requested by the defence. I can't comment on any investigation, as this would have been carried out by the investigation and security team prior to me receiving the file. Mr. Blakey was represented by solicitor and counsel who were entitled to request any evidence that they needed to support his defence. In addition, the defence are able to make a Section 8 application for disclosure should his legal representatives have thought that evidence was being withheld from him. Mr. Blakey pleaded guilty and no such request was made.
So he's clearly putting it there on, if the defence didn't ask for it, we didn't get it, but that's not a thorough investigation, is it? That's like waiting for somebody to point out problems with your case, a bit like when he was saying the sum total of the review of his advice was waiting until defence solicitors complained about it rather than any internal quality assurance at the Post Office itself.
The ratio, the essence of the Court of Appeal's decision in Hamilton
Yes.
is that obtaining the evidence that the Post Office relied on to prove that it had sustained a loss was not something to be subcontracted to the defence to raise.
Yes.
It was a necessary step for the prosecution to prove the case. I think you understand that now, having read the Court of Appeal's decision.
Yes.
Aren't you here in these paragraphs throwing the obligation back on the defence? Isn't that what you're doing by these paragraphs?
Well, obviously I'm wrong. I mean, it should have been done from the outset. I mean, yeah, I agree. It should have been done from the outset. That's what we did. It was wrong, and I think certainly counsel's opinion and advice didn't said that we should, and maybe one of us should have done. Sort of said, no, we're not having it, we need that. And that is a sad reflection of where we are today, and we shouldn't be.
And it is.
I think that's the first admission after hours of testimony of something that he's actually done and done incorrectly. But at least there is some kind of reflection on there that it shouldn't be up to the defence to prove the prosecution's case, because that would be ridiculous.
What you express here in these paragraphs in 99 and 100, essentially the view that was operative throughout your time in the Post Office when you prosecuted, that the obligation was on the defence to raise horizon integrity and proof of loss, i.e. essentially reversing the burden of proof.
Well, otherwise I wouldn't put it in, would I? I mean, that's my witness to the best of my... that's the statement I made. That's what we did. But as to your second bit, I'm not sure I would go as far as that. I mean, I think we're sort of. I mean, certainly from my point of view, I'm a normal person. If I thought there was something wrong, we need to obtain it. I would have done it. But obviously, I didn't, and I was wrong. Looking back on it, it's in black and white what the Court of Appeal have. And I accept that wholeheartedly, and
It's just that you were still saying it in your witness statement here, which is the 6th of October, 2023.
I'm saying it because that's what we did. I mean, if I put it like that, could I actually say that? I can't say that, can I? This is how we worked. This is how we did things in year, from year 2000 to year 2012. I mean, if I put, all that sort of stuff, you'd be taking me to the contrary view. You didn't do it. Why didn't you do it, Mr. Blakey? Why didn't maybe I'm saying too much, but I do feel it very strongly. I do feel really hurt that we didn't. That we let 12 years go by and nobody picked that up. That where are the RRQ? How the hell are we proving this? But that's the way we did, and that's where we are. But that's why we are today. But we shouldn't have been here.
So nobody at the post office picked up on the fact of, these legally trained professionals. How do we even prove this case is a thing? How do we even prove that it exists? I mean, that's surely a damning admission. But again, it's kind of reflecting on, it was up to the Defence Counsel to QAR cases. If they complained, then we'd review them. Now the Court of Appeal has said I'm doing it wrong, I'll admit I'm doing it wrong. It's all too little too late and shows why there is a need for quality assurance processes in place at the post office at this time and at all times to ensure that these things weren't happening.
And that can come down, thank you. And I think it's right, therefore, as you tell us, I'm not going to ask for these to be put up, but it's paragraphs 89, 109, 123 and 146, that audit data was not requested in a number of criminal proceedings which ended up in a conviction.
Please explain to me, it's late in the day, I'm not as young as I used to be. Say that again and slowly, please.
You tell us in passages in your witness statement when you're referring to case studies that we're looking at.
Yes.
It's paragraphs 89, 109, 123 and 146, so 4 cases.
Yes.
That audit data was not requested in criminal proceedings.
Is that what I say? Where did I say that audit data?
Well, let's have a look, if you want to look at each.
Are you talking about whatever the AQ, whatever it is?
ARQ data. Paragraph 89.
89, sorry, yeah. Hang on.
On page 30.
89, there is no Horizon data dogs arrested. Yeah.
There was no data.
Yeah.
So what I've done is I've looked at each of the passages in your statement.
Yeah.
There are 4 different cases where you say we didn't seek ARQ data in those cases.
We didn't. No. Whether the officers did at the outset, but we didn't get copies. And as I say, if I'm making this statement, I wouldn't be saying that, would I? Certainly, in the Blakey case, you had J&K explaining the system, the workings of the Horizon system and the operation of it. But as to the logs, they weren't there.
Why would the investigators request that data and not pass it on unless there was something you didn't want them to see? But, we've already kind of established from the investigators we handed across the full files. So it seems like the actual incentive there was not requesting the data in the first place to not breach the contractual limits that they didn't have to pay Fujitsu more money for access to their own post office data.
And if we look forward to page 37,
Yeah.
paragraph 100, that's Susan Palmer's case. Yep. No Horizon data was requested in this case, yes?
Did you say page 37?
Yeah.
I think Mr. Beer means paragraph 109.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
On page 37.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what it says. I mean, I looked at the paperwork you supplied, and it wasn't there. So if it wasn't there, we didn't request it.
Page
the officers didn't request
41, please. Paragraph 123. This is dealing with Susan Brudkin's case. No Horizon data was obtained in this case, or requested in this case.
it. Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
And paragraph 146 on page 46, foot of the page, on page 46.
Yeah. Well.
Just scroll down. Thank you. No Horizon data was requested from Fujitsu in this case.
Sorry.
However, in an advice note, it says I requested further witness statements, including a statement addressing the IT system.
That's a Julian Wilson case, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. I think that's. I think he mentioned that there's a problem with the Horizon. I think I did my advice, asked for it. That subsequently counsel confirmed it. I did sort of send counsel's advice and requested it, but it's subsequently Mr. Wilson counsel, they pleaded guilty before the data was in hand. But that case was, I think there was advised or whatever it is subsequently by Rob Wilson, and I think he also amended the charges, and I think also the basis plea was agreed by him, and maybe it's something I don't know the ins and outs of it.
So in these cases, and there are many, many more,
Yes.
the Post Office did not obtain audit data, correct?
Yes, correct.
Thank you, that can come down. Why did the Post Office not routinely obtain audit data to inform investigative and prosecutorial decisions?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not the part of the team to make that decision. And like I explained to you, the initial advice was formulated the way I explained to you.
So what proof were they considering to establish that a loss had actually occurred? I mean, presumably it's just based on the auditor's interpretation of the data, for which they received no training in analysis and very little training on Horizon, from the Horizon system itself. Surely that data, the raw data, would form the basis of your prosecution case.
At the time, why did you think it was appropriate for the Post Office to launch criminal proceedings against branch staff without first confirming through audit data that there was proof of an actual loss?
Well, in the whole business, including the lawyers, now, of course, we were wrong. Should have been requested. We didn't. We were led to believe that the system was perfect. We had training. I think even the trainer said it was a foolproof system. Firstly, I think when the system was first put in place, I went to training, and then I think when I moved to Old Street on the 1st of April, I took a lot of our barristers from the southwest, I think it was, and the Midlands for the training. And he explained it in such a way that he said, well, it's foolproof. You put in what you get out type of thing. And
So who told you the system was foolproof?
trainers who trained everybody on the Horizon system, including the legal team. And because I've been through the Misra case, I was conscious of the fact that every person who dealt with with any of the sub-postmasters should go on that training. I went on it. I took some of the barristers' chambers prosecutors, and nobody would prosecute unless they'd been on that training. So we were obviously misled, or whatever you like to call it, that the system worked very well.
Was it the Post?
I think at one point there he was going to say Fujitsu, but then almost stopped himself. And I'm guessing the people doing the training might have been from Fujitsu. But in any case, he's told us before that he knows it's just a machine. I know it's not perfect. So even if he's getting advice to the contrary, I realise it can be difficult to resist. But he could put forward that counterpoint rather than saying, all right, well, I know machines aren't foolproof, but this guy tells me it's foolproof, so therefore it's foolproof. It seems like a lot is being taken on trust without a critical mind being applied to it.
Post Office's strategy to put the onus on sub-postmasters to request audit data in prosecutions rather than the Post Office obtaining it and disclosing it as a matter of practice?
Not that I'm aware of, but certainly what I explained to you, the way the initial advice was formulated to the investigation team, it should have done. They should have. I mean, it wouldn't have taken very long to put in a paragraph instead of getting somebody to do a witness statement to actually say, no, get this data.
I mean, whether it was policy or not, that's the reality of what transpired.
But nobody picked it up, and certainly people above me who had more experience and knowledge of it didn't. And I don't know whether I was in a position to do it or not to do it, but certainly we didn't.